And Mike, it feels like we've been here at this exact same spot before. Good morning.
Good morning. That's a great tune, wasn't it?
Yes.
I love it. I mean, this generation has no idea what good music is anymore. They have to use ours. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, we've been there before, and it's really a shame. I mean, let me just go through the first goal the other night and set you up. Carlo doesn't make the red line, and so he gets called for an icing, which is just unforgivable at that point. And then they have a face-off alignment that is completely puzzling to me. When you have a face-off in your own zone, you're supposed to think you're going to lose it. In this case, the Toronto had the three forwards right along the face-off circle, one the center in the middle, and the Bruins had a defenseman on the wall and one behind the face-off circle. Who the hell's going to take the forward in front? The two forwards from the Bruins that are in front go out to the point to cover people. It's the dumbest face-off alignment you can ever do. This is on the coaches.
Yeah.
It's totally on the coaches. And so they lose the face-off, and all the two defensemen do in a race to get back to the front of the net is screen Swayman, who has no chance to stop the puck. Dumb, dumb, dumb. The whole game was the dumbest game I've seen in a long time from a Bruins team. They were turnovers everywhere, poor passing, no body checking, abysmal in the faceoff circle. They couldn't win a faceoff. I mean, get down and get dirty. And the last goal was the winning goal was, first of all, Pastrňák and Marchand changed. They were going, and it's the period of the long change, so your guys have to come a long way. And meanwhile, Toronto changed. The guy that scored the goal came off the bench. He probably cheated by a whole zone to get into the play. And then when Grzelcyk tried to take Tavares wide, he made him at least get one hand on the puck, and he just shoveled it to the front of the net, and it hit Tavares' stick, got a bad bounce. But Coyle and McAvoy were standing there with their thumbs up their butt, looking at the puck, and Nyes was right behind him. I was so pissed off.
Yeah.
I mean, Montgomery says he was pissed off. He should be pissed off at himself.
Why did he feel the need to shuffle lines?
I don't know. I mean, they had a great game in Toronto. I don't know if he was sort of expecting the team to win this one and maybe going to get extra beef in the lineup because they're going to play Florida in the next round if they win it. Maybe he was experimenting ahead of himself. You can't get ahead of yourself. You got to get the job done. And they had a perfectly good lineup in Toronto that played the best game of the series so far. And he shuffled the deck, and you're going to have to ask him.
Do you see Montgomery making the change back when it comes to Shattenkirk and Grzelcyk?
I don't know. I mean, Shattenkirk can be dangerous in his own zone. He's not very good defensively, but he certainly brings an element to the offense in the power play. In fact, I wouldn't mind if they played seven defensemen and just rotated through a winger on the fourth line to give themselves an option on the power play. But I would think that he would go back in that direction, but all bets are off. He seems to be like he's playing in Vegas.
Mike, we were been arguing about this point all week long about the energy level, preparation, the guys not being prepared, and whether or not
because they use that. Marchand used that word. Jim Montgomery uses that word when it comes to preparation.
Right.
You know?
So we kind of discussed, like, who is it on? Is it on the players? Is it on and coaches? I felt like the coach's job is to make sure guys are prepared and understand what the task is at hand. And when you start off slow, when you just don't have that, I feel like that isn't a message that has been reiterated nonstop. Is that something that you put on coaches, players? Where do you put that when you start to hear these guys talk about it after a loss like that, especially through the first period and a half?
You would think it would be easy to get ready for a game that you could close out an opponent, wouldn't you?
Yes.
I mean, you'd think it'd be just simple matter of guys getting ready, but human nature is what it is. So it's incumbent on the players to get ready, but it's incumbent upon the coach to know or see the warning signs that maybe they're not. Maybe they're, joking too much in the locker room. Maybe they're too glib and they think they're going to win this. Find some evidence that they're not ready to play. But I've talked about this 1,000 times with you guys. The coaches are responsible for conditioning, motivation, and discipline. And the motivation wasn't there. And I'm really concerned about conditioning because there's too many games where they fall flat and can't pick it up. And that does bother me. And certainly, but motivation is a group effort. But it's the guy that monitors it more than anybody has to be the coach. But they do have individual responsibilities to come ready to play.
I hate even bringing this up, but there are people who keep talking about it. There's no chance he goes with Linus tonight, is there?
Well, if he goes with Linus and they don't win it, he's putting his job in jeopardy. That's what I think. I mean, the kid, Swayman, has played brilliantly. I mean, you think you're going to just roll the dice now with Linus Ullmark after he hasn't played in about, 8-10 days? And you've got somebody there that's, been close to a brick wall. I mean, very unlucky on the game winner. He had no chance, or the first one for that matter, and made some great saves, in the interim. I would be unthinkable for him to go to Ullmark at this stage of the game.
Mike, this is a team that is choked, collapsed, failed to reach its potential now with 3 separate coaches at different times. So when do we stop blaming, like I have been, Monty, and maybe start looking at the core now? It's with Marchand, but this team perennially fails in its biggest spots and comes up small when they need to come up big.
You have to be careful about pointing the finger at the team because the team is drastically different this year than it was last year. And every year the turnover is substantial. But for me, I don't think there's a trend here. I mean, they're not that good. Are they? We didn't come into the season thinking these guys going to run to the conference final and play in the Stanley Cup final. They lost 2 of the best centermen in the game, and they managed to cobble together a lineup that put them in a pretty good position to get an opponent that they could beat. So I'm not thinking they're choking. I'm just thinking they're playing to their level.
But Mike,
point.
this series only, this is a team that they beat up on the entire regular season.
Yeah, that's right. They have, and they're still ahead 3-2, and they were in pretty good shape at 3-1 until they laid an egg. They should win the series. They have better structure than Toronto does. Toronto's defense and goaltending this guy Wald seemed to be pretty impressive, but can he maintain it? I don't know, but I just think that they were in good shape to win it. They let their guard down. They weren't ready.
But mentally. How is that possible, Mike? How in that game, after what happened last year in round 1, are you up 3-1 after dominating them in game 4 and you come home?
On home ice.
Well, there's no doubt that there was a mistake. They weren't ready to play. They didn't play with discipline. They didn't play hard. They didn't play anywhere near to their level. I just don't think that you're going to make this a trend for all Bruins teams for all time when there's such a turnover that you can't blame the same guys twice in a row. But you're right. They let them off the hook. There's no doubt about it. They let them off the hook. They should have been more prepared. The coach has to take responsibility, and the players who do, whatever they do on the ice certainly have to bear the brunt of the blame. But another day, another opportunity. They now have ignited the Maple Leafs flame, and that's dangerous. That's dangerous when you give the opportunity to another team to climb back in it. They sense the ability to recover, and now going home to crazy Maple Leaf Gardens, the Bruins have their hands full.
Mike, will there be maybe any second guessing or any blame when it comes to Sweeney on his decision to not really put his foot on the gas on trading Linus to actually get players that could help him in the situation that they might be in now? I know everybody talks about the Pat Maroon thing, but I mean, and I said this the other day, he looks like he's on rollerblades while everybody's on ice skis.
When he gets his hands on the puck, he usually does something pretty good with it, but his legs are not what they once were, and not that they were ever great, but I can see the element that Sweeney was trying to get, given how they lost to Florida and the way Florida's played this year, and they're going to be an opponent that they're going to have to get through. But I don't think he did anything. He couldn't have done much more with Linus, and he had a trade in line. Mm-hmm. The player had the power to veto it, and he did. I guess you can ask me that same question in October if Linus is still in a tandem with Swayman, because I don't think they can afford to do that. And I think they will trade him, and they will get an asset. And it's unfortunate that it couldn't happen at this stage of the game, so that they could have been better prepared for these playoffs.
Mike, can you point to anything when it comes to a team like this one that plays just as well, if not better, on the road than any type of home ice advantage?
It's puzzling to me. I don't know why you would be that way. I mean, you come home, you sleep in the bed that you're used to, you have a routine that you're used to. You'd think it would be logical for them to play better at home, and maybe there's just that expectation they have that they will win. But I guess I don't have an answer for that. I really don't. I mean, there should be. I mean, there's a personal pride of playing well in front of your fans, and the price you pay for not doing it is harmful to your ego. When those boo birds come out and they start picking you out of the crowd, or the whole team. Picking on the whole team, it's tough to shake off. So I don't have an answer for it. It is a concern. You got to win your games at home. We play all season to get a home ice advantage, and then it becomes a disadvantage. It's a head scratcher.
Speaking of head scratchers, we couldn't figure out why John Beecher's not in that lineup the other night. You expect that he's back in there tonight, since he's virtually the only one who can win a faceoff?
Yeah, I mean, and these were big faceoffs. I mean, the lost faceoff led to the first goal, as well as the poor alignment that I mentioned. But it was feeble. It was not good at all. And usually I sometimes feel that faceoffs are overrated. I know it leads to possession, and possession leads to opportunity, but you can get it right back. And turnovers are happening all the time in the game of hockey, and you can overtake that loss of a faceoff if you work hard on your checking game. But this was just totally one-sided and painful. I mean, Domi at one point had won like 11 in a row. It was just like, what the hell?
It was unbelievable.
I mean, and really, if you're not going to win the draw, at least don't lose it outright. In other words, tie up his stick and wait for help to come in there. And maybe he has to kick it back, or he doesn't have the ability to make a direct pass back. But they lost too many draws outright cleanly.
Mike, when you look at this team, is there a concern with, it seems like we've had this conversation before with Pastrňák when it comes to his performances in the postseason?
Well, I'm going to tell you, something's going on there. I mean, I've talked to a couple people. I mean, he looks unhappy. I don't know if it's because he's not getting enough, passes on the power play or what have you. But he's been brutal at times. He's been a liability. His turnovers are terrible. I mean, he took a penalty the other night that was awful. I mean, he looks like he's off of his game. He doesn't look like he's having a lot of fun. I saw him bail out and make some bad decisions in certain situations, and then come back and actually block the shot, which was remarkable for him. But I don't like his game. And without his game straightening out, whether they win this series or not is irrelevant. They're not going anywhere with their best player playing at maybe 65 to 70% of his capacity.
Wait, when you say you talk to people about it, have you heard something like he's not happy?
I heard that he seems off. Yes, it just doesn't seem like his mood isn't there. He's not focused enough, and I don't know what the problem is, but it's not a good time to be having that kind of attitude in the playoffs. You should be jacked up, ready to go every game, and not complaining or whining or looking like you're an unhappy camper.
How much of that could be related to the loss of Krejci? A guy that maybe he felt like could get him the puck in the right spots?
It's a good question. I got to think. I mean, have you seen Zacha much in this round? Not too much. I mean, do you think he's pouting because he'd rather play with Coyle and Marchand? Maybe. Is the coach on him for some reason or another? I don't know. There's a limitless possibilities for why he wouldn't be, humming along. But it's not a good thing that he's not. And you're going to have to get inside the locker room or inside this guy's head to find out the reason why. But he's got to get better in a hurry.
All right, Mike Milbury, it is win or go home tonight for the Bruins. Courtney will miss her martini mate tonight at Matunic in Rhode Island, but we'll see you.
I think she'll do just fine without me.
We'll send you a picture.
All right.
But we're going to see you at the Beachcomber, I think, right?
All right, you
end
got
of
it.
roadshow season.
I think so.
All right.